Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching India Tonight, and our second top story that we're discussing on the show. Well, India's IT city in Silicon Valley, Bengaluru, is grappling with severe flooding after torrential rains lashed the city. That has left at least 3 people dead and over 500 homes submerged and inundated. And that has happened in just the past 24 hours alone. The city has received 100 mm of rainfall that's overwhelmed drainage systems and caused widespread chaos. Many upmarket areas have turned into waterways with over 20 lakes nearing overflow levels. Critical infrastructure, including underpasses and flyovers, have been closed, and that's led to extensive traffic disruptions and halting of public bus services across several regions. And those are some of the pictures of how the rains have crippled the IT city all across everywhere. Ironically, it's the newly developed areas that are built to house the booming tech sector. Those are facing the worst of floods. Rightly said, as someone pointed out on social media, no other city invokes a sense of fear and helplessness for commuting during rains as Bangalore does. So the big question is, will Bengaluru ever be rain ready? And where should the buck stop for this inundation and loss of life? To discuss all of those and more points related to policy and implementation, I'm now joined by S. Vishwanath, who's a senior water expert. Thank you very much, Mr. Vishwanath, for joining us here on ET Now.
My pleasure.
Mr. Vishwanath, governments have come, they have gone. Those governments are vastly different in their political ideologies that we have seen in the state, but they are a mirror image of each other when it comes to, seeing their failures centered around infrastructure mess that has become of IT city Bengaluru. What do you think is the key issue here? Is it the lack of flood management? Is it the lack of future planning? Is it not thinking of climate change in mind, rapid urbanization, or perhaps just the fact that there is little political will?
It's a question of governance. I think the city does not have a master plan which is relevant, which protects our water bodies, which protects the lakes, which protects the valleys, which identifies them with a buffer zone to make sure that they are functioning for stormwater preparedness. We don't have a stormwater drainage plan which is complete. That's still there after a CAG report in 2021, which pointed out flaws. We still don't seem to learn lessons and tell our citizens what kind of a plan we have to manage what you are seeing on your screen. The lakes are not integrated as part of the flood management system with the stormwater drain. Sewage flows in stormwater drains. Solid waste dumping is a challenge. We need an integrated approach, and sadly, we don't seem to have that integrated approach.
Right, sir, but you in fact have been tracking this space for quite some time, and if you could throw some light on what really happened with previous reports and flood management mitigation proposals, what's happened to them and how many of them actually got shelved, how many of them got ignored, implemented, with respect to the funds that have been allocated, do those funds remain underutilized? Is it only a case of that master plan that you're speaking of not getting passed, but do you also think that it is related to all the problems that I just mentioned about, all the issues that I just pointed towards?
Well, for example, the CAG report, which came on stormwater drains in 2021, we still don't know what the action taken is. We don't know what lessons have been learned and what things have been put in place for correction. We now have a huge funding from the World Bank, which is also for climate resilience, especially water resilience, which is being invested in stormwater drain. It's still not clear to the public as to what aspects of flood mitigation will occur through this huge investment that's going on. Then there are the legacy spots. Many of the places that you're showing on your videos are places which get flooded every time it rains more than 50 millimeters, right? So it's nothing unusual. How do we deal with legacy issues is not still very clear. And it's a sad state of affair that underpasses and roads become unmotorable and unpassable during rains. This is simply not something that we can do if we design our roads and our stormwater drains together and correctly. And that does not seem to be happening adequately.
Right, sir. In fact, I'm just poring over a report that essentially states that this master plan, this revised master plan, was supposed to expire and be replaced with another revised master plan in 2015, which never happened. So what essentially is the problem here? Why is the political leadership not really interested when it comes to resolving these basic civic infrastructure issues, which we talk every year on national television? There are memes and, of course, there are cries of help by citizens. There are deaths every year. Why was that plan not implemented? What do you think is the main reason for that?
Well, there was inadequate public consultation, and the real reason for its shelving is clearly not known. But the 2031 master plan, which has to come about with public consultation in a form or in an architecture which is in consonance with the governance mechanisms. For example, decentralized governance, where the 74th Amendment has to be implemented, and ward committees should become essentially part of the planning process as well as the implementation and monitoring process. That's not happened. It's not happened under this regime. It's not happened under the past regime. There seems to be no political appetite to actually govern the city through a democratic, decentralized form, including in the current form, this avatar of the Greater Bangalore Authority that's being created. There is definite lack of democratic participation in this.
Right, sir. So when you talk about the fact that, there is little political will, it did get notified, the RMP, it hasn't been implemented as yet. There was no public consultation, which is, rather bizarre, because these are very, very critical issues that should immediately be looked at, given the kind of investments that Bengaluru is getting. You have the whole IT city there, the whole startup and VC ecosystem over there, and all of that comes to a standstill, all of that comes to a halt. And now we're given to understand that IT companies have actually asked their employees to work from home. So somebody should be made accountable for these costs. Of course, there is cost of human life as well. In terms of putting accountability in, should urban planning then be declared as a civic emergency, with a fixed accountability? Is there a legal provision? Can a penal provision be added to that?
Well, it should be. There should be somebody responsible, somebody equipped with the ability to draw up a plan, to implement it, and then be held accountable for the plan and its implementation. Currently, it's not happening at all. Plus, stormwater management calls for coordination. It calls for coordination with, for example, the Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board, where sewage should not run in the storm drains, or sewage lines and manholes should not run in storm drains. Lakes should not be filled with sewage. Solid waste management should be such that construction debris and solid waste does not end up in our drainage network. All these points to a single point of accountability and responsibility, which we need to get, but with democratic accountability. At a ward level, citizens should be able to ask questions of their corporators or of the ward engineers as to what's happening to local waterlogging and local flooding. But that accountability mechanism is not there. It is not there at the ward level, and it's missing at the city level. And this is the big challenge for us. It's a governance challenge as to how do we, A, empower our institutions, but B, hold them accountable and make sure that they take action which is desired for our city's growth.
Right, sir. In fact, you're talking about solid waste management, and there is some data that's been put by a very able production team, and it says that solid waste management, this is for the year 2023-24 budget, the actual spending of what was allocated, was not really enough. There was, not proper utilization of that budget that really came about. There was, not enough shortfall, but totally points out to the fact that there was not proper utilization of the budget. So the big question now is, where does the state government start in terms of, starting to put the civic infrastructure in place? Because, just to travel 5 kilometers, you shouldn't have to waste at least an hour or an hour and a half in traffic.
There is tremendous burden placed by this mismanagement of floodwaters. As you pointed out, loss of life is completely intolerable. It should never happen. And the economic loss that the city suffers is also tremendous, which impacts livelihoods. We don't talk about low-income settlements, which are facing this burden. We also usually focus on the middle income who are now being affected, and you can see the pictures and videos that come there. Now, unless we have a coordinated, responsible body which is in charge of solid waste, liquid waste, and stormwater, the monies that are being spent are simply unaccounted. It takes a CAG to point out the flaws in spending and the mismanagement of the funding. Even that is not acted upon. So this is a cause for great concern, and I think we should not only just do the firefighting as is being done now, but draw up long-term plans which are transparent, which are accountable, and where the citizen is a part of the solution.
Right, sir. So where does the state government start in terms of implementing structural reforms that all of these, issues that you have brought about? First of all, is implementing that master plan. Then, of course, there is massive corruption. There is lack of political will. So where does the state government now start, given that we have put enough pressure, citizens have put enough pressure, which they didn't need to in the first place, given that the responsibility lied with the state government? But where can it start? What do you think should be the key priorities immediately in terms of fixing this mess?
In short, just the implementation of the 74th Amendment to the Constitution in letter and spirit, where it calls for democratic accountability, creation of a metropolitan planning committee at a centralized level, which has elected representative, and at a ward level, ward planning and ward governance, where councillors are elected and ward committee members are elected. The implementation of the 74th Amendment in letter and spirit, as I keep repeating, is crucial to the better governance of the city, and the state government has to learn to devolve powers to the city itself.
Right. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts. Definitely the need of the hour.